Original story. Me and boyfriend, I'm 21F, he's 24M, together for 3 years, live apart, but have had plans to rent together soon. Everything was perfect before this. Backstory: I have a history of self-harm. Have done it since I was 11 years old. The last time I did it was 2 years ago. I have some brutal scars, but I'm doing much better and I'm in therapy. It's been a while since I even had the urge. My boyfriend had an ex before me who played mind games a lot. I feel it's relevant as he sometimes thinks I'm playing games when I'm not. For example, he was wary when we started dating that I would self-harm for attention or do it to punish him. His ex would threaten things like that if he ever left her. I haven't ever done this, and despite my struggles, I am pretty good at being patient and communicative. Until this, I considered us to have a really healthy relationship. Main story: BF went out drinking with his friends. I usually hear from him as he gets home, 2 a.m.-ish, to let me know he is home and safe, but I didn't hear anything last night. I figured he just forgot, no biggie. I went to bed as normal. I woke up at 11 a.m. to a bunch of missed calls from his mother. They live together. I called her back and she texted at 1 p.m. that she couldn't talk. I was kinda worried and told her as much. She said my BF didn't get home last night and was in a crash and didn't make it. This was super weird to me since I get on well with his mom and would never expect to be told this via text. After some more texting, I fully believed my boyfriend had passed away that morning and I totally shut down. The people I live with were all out that day, so I was alone. Grief set in immediately and I had an extremely bad relapse on my self-harm. At that point I didn't even care, I was just hurting so much and my usual coping techniques just weren't doing their job. I listened to old voice notes of his and even sent one telling him how much I loved him through the most unhinged sobbing I've ever done. Well, he arrived at my house 20 minutes later saying it was a prank since he got into a small bump and thought I'd get mad about him driving drunk as well as about him mushing up his car a little, and he and his friends came up with this plan to just make me happy he was alright. So they took his mum's phone and the above happened. I obviously was thankful he wasn't dead. But I had a million other much stronger emotions. I was so angry he drove drunk, so angry he saw nothing wrong with it, so angry that he would lie about something so serious, and absolutely heartbroken that he let me sit in grief for over an hour until I sent a voice note that made him feel bad. Plus lots of other things I'm still struggling to articulate. He found out I harmed and flew off the handle. He said I punished him and turned a harmless prank into something much more serious and ruined the joke of it. He said I was guilting him for having fun, and now he can't trust I won't do it again. He even suggested I stay in the hospital for my mental issues for a few weeks and crank up therapy. He said he can't leave me if he wants now or else I'll act like this, just like his ex. I am beyond hurt. I probably should look into therapy if I'm still resorting to it, I admit, but this was not an everyday bout of anxiety or even a breakup. I thought he had died. I'm also very aware that his actions were massively crappy and he is being so manipulative in the aftermath. How is it a punishment if I thought he was dead? I absolutely would not react like this if he just broke up with me, and I have never said or hinted at that. Not really sure what to do now. My gut tells me to leave him over this, but I'm so unsure. What a sick joke. You need to break things off as soon as possible. What a cruel thing to do. I could never even be friends with someone who did this. The worst part is that he did it to get away from the consequences of drinking and driving. He willingly and purposely hurt you to ease the repercussions of his actions. Let that sink it. Dump him, please. He is a piece of trash. He even took his mom's phone to make it look like she was in on it. That takes it to a whole new level of cruelty. I would dump him immediately and tell his mom what he did. Make sure to actually talk to her so you know she actually knows what he did. Please listen to your gut. This is beyond horrible behavior, not a harmless prank. You deserve to be with someone who has compassion and respect for you. If anything, the BF needs therapy. Your boyfriend is a horrible person. What he did shows deep character flaws. The drunk driving is bad enough, the more so because he knew it was wrong and chose to do it anyway. But the harmless prank? That's just mean. So disrespectful and inconsiderate, made all the more so by your personal history. And speaking of the accident, did he leave the scene of an accident while he was driving drunk? Or was he late getting home because he got a DUI? He bumped into a fence post, so luckily nobody was injured, but the potential was there as well as the carelessness. I don't know if he was late or not honestly, I think he planned this almost immediately and not texting me all night as part of it. Update. Long story short, I broke up with him for the following reasons. Drunk driving, endangering himself and others. Took his mother's phone and made me think it was her, deception. Telling me he was dead, deception, extreme emotional stress. Letting me think that for hours. I could list every negative trait for that one. Borderline sociopathic behavior. Not being sorry for any of these things, twat. Telling me I'm too sensitive, invalidation, shifting blame. Being mad at me for relapsing, unsupportive, uncaring, unkind. I still won't blame him for the relapse though, as many people here wanted me to. That is on me and I am still going to therapy regularly for that. So for those interested, I took a few days to myself. I did speak over the phone to his mom, and she was incredibly apologetic on his behalf. I taught her how to put a passcode on her phone. After that, we met up and I outlined the things I listed above. He seemed apologetic and sincere about all of them and listened to me well. Unfortunately, he didn't quite understand that being apologetic wouldn't get me to change my mind on ending the relationship, so his true colors came out at the end. He got annoyed at me for ending it and again told me I was dramatic and other invalidating arguments. Oh well, I said what I needed to say and that's enough closure for me. The guy who faked his own death calls you dramatic. You couldn't hold a candle to this guy in the drama stakes. You made the right choice to dump him. Well, I'm glad you didn't buy the fake I'm sorry act. It's so often used by really manipulative people to convince you they have changed, and I'm glad you saw right through that crap. Good on you, life is too short wasting time in relationships like this. Agreed, as one of the lovesick puppies that kept going back to abuse because he was sorry and wouldn't ever do it again. I don't believe I'm sorry anymore. Not for that. I, 24F, have a sister, 32F, who has a husband, 38M, who is the poster child of weaponized incompetence. They have 4 kids, 10F, 8M, 5M, 3F, and she's pregnant. My sister works a full-time job, 40 hours a week, cleans her entire house, cooks, and takes care of all her children without him doing anything. It is seriously mind-blowing that she wakes up at like 4 a.m., cooks breakfast, does chores, gets all of her kids ready for school, takes them all to school and daycare, and all he does is stay home and work, and when his kids get home, after my sister picks them up of course, he will play with them for a little and play video games until he falls asleep. She actually makes more than him. My fiancé, 26M, and I had to stay with them for 6 weeks while our home was being renovated, and since we both work from home, we helped her, and it is amazing how much happier she is when she has help. I helped with the kids and my fiancé even drove her to doctor appointments. Her husband literally only acknowledges he is a parent when his family is around, then he is a God-fearing, hard-working father of 5. He is the one that wanted more kids, she wanted to stop after her last baby, but he needed more boys. I am seriously concerned not only for her but her kids as well, because now her oldest is seeing what's happening and trying to help, but my sister is prideful and refuses to let her child do anything. I and this man have never gotten along. He's been acting like this since their 8-year-old was born. I've tried talking to her about leaving, but she doesn't want her kids to grow up in a broken home, and unfortunately, her experience with our parents' divorce was completely different than mine, so she doesn't understand that a divorce would benefit her kids here because she thinks they need their mom and dad together. Cut to this past weekend, she and her husband threw a pre-Thanksgiving potluck where our entire family and his were there. I stayed with my sister a few days before because I knew he wouldn't help. So we're at dinner all talking, and I mention we are trying for a baby, and my Bill makes an offhanded comment to him about how hard fatherhood is, and I snapped and said. Like you would know, he looked taken aback and asked me what I meant, and I unloaded on him, calling him a pathetic excuse for a man who makes my 8 months pregnant sister do everything for their family. I went off for a solid 10 minutes, and he sat there shrinking in his seat. I left. Last night my sister called me and thanked me for standing up for her and told me she appreciated me. Although today I got a very nasty text from him telling me I'm a terrible person, and because I lied in front of his family, his mom is angry at him and is moving in with them to help her out, and I've made him the laughingstock of his family. He certainly thinks so, but am I the idiot for doing this? Not the idiot. Not only did you speak the truth to a guy with learned helplessness, but you also seem to have gotten some positive help for your sister. Seriously, if he's that bad, he deserves to be a laughingstock. Maybe that will bring some more positive change, whether it's his finally helping or your sister leaving him. Not the idiot, your sister and her mill saw it as a true reflection of his behavior, and I hope he is embarrassed enough to pull his weight going forward. Little aside though, your sister may not want the children to help, but she should let them and even encourage them, because otherwise, she will raise 5 more of your bill. Not the idiot. Text him back with truth hurts, doesn't it, big man?